What's up, fight fans? Welcome back to Sportskeeda MMA News. Some massive UFC matchups have been leaked courtesy of Uncle Dana. Kamaru Usman and Jake Paul troll each other on social media, and Paul apparently wants to get frisky? Dana White doubles down on the issue of UFC fighter pay. Michael Bisping openly fears what might happen to Tony Ferguson's career. And Ferguson's opponent, Michael Chandler, gets real about his tough fight this Saturday. All this and more on today's edition of Sportskeeda MMA News. If you see any of your favorite fighters mentioned in today's video, make sure to blast that like button. Let's get started. Hey, have you been wondering when is Jon Jones actually gonna fight again? What about Khamzat Chimaev after going toe-to-toe with Gilbert Burns? Well, it seems like Uncle Dana accidentally leaked some upcoming fights while giving a tour of the UFC offices, and every single one of them are a banger. Starting with the man everyone's been talking about for the past 2 years, former UFC light heavyweight champion Jon Jones. According to the leaked possible matchups, the UFC is looking at July 30th UFC 277 for Jones's return against none other than former two-time heavyweight champion Stipe Miocic. The next biggest fight from the leak is none other than the 11-0 Khamzat Chimaev, the number 3 welterweight contender. It seems like the UFC wants to break the MMA world by putting him up against Nate Diaz at UFC 276. The 20-13 Diaz has been pining for a return to the octagon since his loss to Leon Edwards, and while most people thought it might be against Dustin Poirier, the UFC has different plans. Chimaev is coming off a win over Gilbert Burns, which was the toughest test of his career by far. The next few fights from the leaked list are absolutely massive and have divisional implications. Sean O'Malley vs Pedro Munoz is being finalized for UFC 276 as well. This would be the 15-1 O'Malley's first shot at a ranked opponent. The headlining fight for UFC 276 is now confirmed. Middleweight champion Israel Adesanya will take on Jared Cannonier after defeating Robert Whittaker a second time earlier this year. After turning Johnny Walker into an NFT last month, it seems like Jamahal Hill is getting a big step closer to light heavyweight gold against the man who's 1-4 in his last 5 fights, Thiago Santos. And finally, Paulo Costa is confirmed to be welcoming back former UFC champion Luke Rockhold to headline an event on August 20th. After failing to make weight twice and being embarrassed by Marvin Vettori late last year, the 13-2 Costa will look to make his middleweight return against the man who's been knocked out cold in 3 of his last 4 fights. Luke Rockhold against another heavy-hitting knockout artist? Sure, makes sense. Which one of these potential matchups are you looking forward to the most? Leave a comment down below and you might be featured in tomorrow's video. Pound for pound king Kamaru Usman recently went on a rant about the alleged dying sport of boxing, and he also handled an executive troll. Usman replied to Showtime Sports president Steven Espinoza on Twitter, who accused MMA fighters of not choosing their own opponents, and Espinoza compared it to boxing, where allegedly fighters have more autonomy. Here's what Usman had to say about that. Boxing is a beautiful art, with some amazing athletes, and even a couple of good promoters. The problem is lowlives like you that are around the sport that has destroyed it for everyone. Take notes from what Dana has done. Our fans know who is the best because the best fight the best, not run and hide and fight nobodies with those plastic belts and call themselves super champion. Keep quiet next time, and if you need lessons on how to save that dying sport, let me know. I've got Dana on speed dial. Undefeated pro boxer Jake Paul decided to take a shot at Usman's comments and said this: Kamaru Usman, boxing is dying. Also Kamaru Usman, please Canelo fight me for payday. Usman then sent 2 cold questions back to Paul in retaliation. You're really good at this internet tough guy shit, I give you that. 2 questions for you. Number 1, you and me locked in a room, who makes it out alive? Number 2, Saul and I locked in a room, who makes it out alive? I like your energy though. Paul answered his question with an image and said, me and you locked in a room together? Sounds like a good time to me. I'll bring the fuzzy handcuffs. The 20-1 Usman is undefeated in the UFC and looking to extend his 19-fight win streak in MMA against Leon Edwards this year, but has recently expressed desire for a mega crossover fight with Canelo Alvarez. Maybe he's bored of lapping the welterweight division? What do you think? Does Kamaru Usman handle Jake Paul in a boxing ring? Uncle Dana has finally broken his silence on the hot topic of UFC fighter pay, and he seems to have doubled down on his stance. Recently, MMA fans everywhere have had an opinion or two about UFC fighters making notably less than they deserve, and certainly less than almost all major sports, including boxing. UFC fighters combined take home around 20% of the company's yearly revenue. At the forefront of this war have been notable stars like Jake Paul, who routinely criticizes the UFC brass, especially Dana White, for not being conscious or caring of their fighters' needs. One example being the UFC's reigning heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou, who only made $600,000 for his efforts against Cyril Gane back at UFC 270, a figure that has often been cited as being completely despicable for the baddest man on the planet. And with more UFC fighters calling for boxing super fights just to get a taste of that fat payday, Dana White was forced to share his thoughts on the matter. Here's what White said to The Pivot.
I want you to meet the guy that goes, oh, I'm good. I make plenty of money. I don't need another dime. You're never gonna meet that guy. Right. That's never gonna happen. Everybody wants more money. And one of the big problems with boxing too is that all those guys are overpaid. And every time they put on a fight, it's a going out of business sale. You know what I mean? We're just trying to get as much money as we can from you guys, and then we're out of here, and we'll see you in 3 years. You can't build a league like that. You can't build a sport. You can't have 750 fighters under contract, making money, feeding their families every year with that kind of mentality. It doesn't work. You have to run a business.
With the UFC's recent collaboration with companies in the crypto space and modern edge digital sponsors giving more opportunities to fighters, this conversation might run its course in the next few years. But will the UFC ever consider upping their base salaries? Only time will tell. Do you think Dana White's argument is valid? Let us know below. Nobody is a bigger supporter of Tony Ferguson than us MMA fans. How can we not love the man who rampaged the lightweight division and looked crazy while doing so? But the former UFC middleweight champion Michael Bisping might have us beat. Bisping recently voiced concern over the 26-6 Ferguson's career as of late given his recent fight skid, and generally looking like a shell of his former self. In a video on Bisping's YouTube channel, Bisping spoke again about his worries.
Of course, Tony Ferguson, this man is 38 years old and he is now on a 3-fight losing streak. Granted, lost to Gagey, lost to Beneil Dariush, and of course lost to Charles Oliveira, okay, who is the champion of the world. But if he loses again and he goes on a 4-fight losing streak, and with him being 38 years old, there's a potential that he says, do you know what? I was on a 12-fight win streak. I was the interim champion of the world. But now I'm on a 4-fight losing streak. I can't do this anymore. My best days are behind me.
I think everyone in their right mind is completely nervous for Tony. We feel your pain, Bisping. Let us know your thoughts. What do you think is Tony's best chance of victory? While you're still here, subscribe to Sportskeeda MMA and hit that bell. And last but not least, we get to hear some encouraging words about Tony Ferguson from none other than his opponent, Iron Mike Chandler. The man who absolutely lit up Madison Square Garden last year against Justin Gaethje understands the task in front of him this Saturday. In an interview with Yahoo Sports, here's what Chandler said about El Cucuy.
When you're fighting a guy like Tony Ferguson, he is as unpredictable as they come. He is a certified one-of-one talent. So I don't have any training partners that I can actually train with that can actually emulate Tony Ferguson. So that adds an extra wrinkle of intrigue to the fight. So I'm excited to go out there and compete, man, and can't wait.
It seems like Chandler isn't buying into the narrative that Ferguson's career is at its end. A wise take from the 22-7 Chandler, who gained the respect of UFC fans after knocking out Dan Hooker in his debut and providing some of the most exciting fights in UFC history, even in defeat. Do you think Michael Chandler will try to wrestle Tony Ferguson? That about does it for Sportskeeda MMA News. Here are some of the best comments from today. I'm hoping Oliveira decides to throw hands with Justin instead of grappling. Khabib can mop the floor with his face. But his face already looks like Tony Ferguson's. If you like this video, please like, comment, and share. Your comments could be featured in the next Sportskeeda MMA News video. We always deliver daily content, so make sure you subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss anything going on in the MMA world. For updates, quotes, and exclusive interviews from all your favorite fighters, follow Sportskeeda MMA on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you for tuning in.